Well, it is wonderful to be back together on our Wednesday night for our reflection time on The Chosen. Tonight we are going to watch the entirety of episode 7 of season 1 because it's shorter by a goodly amount. We are able to watch the whole thing. For those that are coming to this not tonight, and I'm so sorry to tell you that we won't be recording the episode here in this recording because of copyright that's come up. So you are invited to go to many different YouTube options and look at the episode 7. No need to break it in the middle this time. So go watch episode 7 on YouTube and then come back here for our reflection afterward. And we will see you in just a few minutes. All right. I hope that you enjoyed that. It certainly did. And the story continues. So you picked up unexpectedly with Moses, went back a little ways. I don't know if you recognize that when they started until Joshua said, well, Moses. I know when I first saw it, I didn't get it at all. And that connection that's coming up with Nicodemus, I thought was just absolutely brilliant. The way that this was put together for us to complete that story and to complete the conversation. All right, so what got you? Where'd you find yourself? So many different points in this one. So close.
Nicodemus and Matthew are both going through a lot of turmoil.
The comparison between those two characters, the way they reacted to it's
huge change.
Yeah.
Finding, it looks like finding for one and being found by the other.
Mm-hmm. I suppose Nicodemus has gotten antsy waiting around for the Savior to come. Am I wrong that they're feeling that a lot?
Oh, sure. All of the signs that point toward the Messiah, and the Messiah is just not coming.
Yeah.
Not doing. I mean, you can imagine there were those looking for the Messiah to come during the Assyrian and the Babylonian and the Persian assaults and all the little terrible times in between now with Rome. And each generation is crying out for the Messiah, looking for the Messiah, and wondering. There's that secret thing. Everybody's experienced this. I'm sure I can say this. Everybody has experienced these periodic moments out of the blue when you're thinking about God, thinking about Jesus, and thinking about faith, and this little voice inside says, maybe this isn't really real. Maybe this is all made up. And you are startled by the fact that you just had this thought, that this thought came along. Maybe you say a prayer, maybe you say, random thought, and you keep going, but the thought is there. And for us, I think it's a momentary random thing that attacks us. But to think that you live under this oppression, this where people are dying, people being hurt, people aren't allowed to follow their life, and your entire belief system points toward a Savior to take you out of this place. And you look back at your history, and for as long as there has been your people, they've all looked for this person, and this person has never come, even when it's been the worst thing in the world, the conquering and the killing. There had to be moments, anxiety-driven moments of whether or not this is a real thing or not. And then the shame, you can hear Nicodemus, the shame that he's got in not believing, not trusting, being skeptical, being unwilling. That thing that he did is actually a quote from Psalm 21. And that's the beginning of that psalm. And Jesus quoted the bottom, like verse 5 or verse 6, where he says, hold on to the sun or else you'll perish. And the psalm says, you'll get fried if you don't hang on to the sun. And then at the bottom it says, so hang on to the Son, and the Son will take care of you. You'll be okay. So that guilt, that last moment of kneeling, supplication was the guilt, the sorrow over all the feelings and all the thoughts and all the everything until that moment. Yeah, they are definitely looking for this person. And of course, we've talked about this, that this is why Jesus is unwelcome as well as welcome. He's unwelcome by those that he's talking about, the ones of the flesh who are looking for the flesh to come, who are looking for King David to come back and for a big army to come along and kill all the Romans and take back the land and be all of that. And they don't want a Messiah who's going to come and do what Jesus is going to do. And he's in screen. There's a wild thing. There are two people that we're talking about. One people or peoples are the people who refuse to believe in a person like Jesus because he cannot accomplish what they want. And that is the liberation of Israel by the sword or by the staff, Moses or David. But there's another very much smaller group of people, but they're still there. And they're the ones who actually know the scripture and can recognize him for who he is and don't want him. Because they still want this other thing, the thing that Matthew's got. They want their life, they want their liberty, they want their money, they want their fine life, their fine living. They want that back. And they're not sure if the Messiah comes as Jesus is coming, that they're going to get that. So they don't want him. They will hold out for the next guy, the little savior, the David guy or the Moses guy, and let the end time guy just keep going, come at some different time. So he's not ticking all the boxes for all the people, as we know.
Yeah, Nicodemus really thought he was going to go after the Romans.
Yeah.
That was a surprise to him that wasn't the case, but he knew who he was, though.
Well,
he accepted totally who he was.
This is the dual life that Nicodemus is living. I think it's the dual life we all are living, right? It's the dual life that Matthew's living, and that Matthew's coming to grips with. That Nicodemus is one of the people that knows these two prophecies, the prophecy of the Messiah that could be the conquering hero, and the prophecy of the real Messiah who is the suffering servant. And Jesus is leading him into this place where he can recognize it's door number 2. It's door number 2. That's why he tells him the thing and he says, you are a teacher of Israel and you don't get this? It's kind of semi-rhetorical, because somewhere down in Nicodemus, he does get it. He is getting it. It's his own way of living. It's the thing that he's become accustomed to in his life that is blocking him from seeing and experiencing this moment to its fullest. Which what we see at the end is that life is done. In whatever way he's stepped over the line to accept who Jesus is. Now what comes next, we're going to know, but it's a wonderful coming aware, not of something new as new, like Nicodemus has never considered this before, because its teaching's there. That's why Jesus says, you're a teacher, you know this. How come you're puzzled by it? Because it's been worked out of the system. It's not a ready grabbed story for Nicodemus. It's like remembering an old friend that's going to come back to him.
Well, with Matthew, it was kind of sudden. He was just standing in his cage and said, okay.
Yeah, what'd you all think about that?
Surprising.
He seemed to be feeling guilty up until then, you think?
Hmm.
It was more like he was just so shy and just beat down.
He's a squirrely little guy.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden he gets a backbone.
And he gets confidence, right?
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. Well, we know where he got it from. But
He's rejected by his people, and Nicodemus is praised by his people. They're like,
Yeah.
And they're both rich, and Matthew's going to give out all of his up.
yeah,
Yeah, there are two types of tax, well, there's four, but really there are two types of tax collectors with two types within the two types. And really the two types within the two types are really just degree. There's a English translation for one type is Gabi. And those are tax collectors that are basically, they do the poll tax. They do stable tax, right? So poll tax, actually stable tax is pretty funny. Poll tax, a stable tax, it's not subjective. It's an objective truth. You come into the stable with a donkey, you are taxed on a donkey. It's $1.50. The poll tax, you come into the city, to get in the city, every person pays $1. It's done. So tax collectors in the Gabi category were disliked, but they weren't hated and ostracized because they didn't cheat. It was very, very, very controlled. Everybody knew the control. Nobody had a question about what was the poll tax or what was the stable tax. They were stable. That's why I said, it's kind of a funny way to say it. These taxes and this tax collector had stable amounts, one for one. That is not Matthew, right? Matthew is another kind of tax collector called a mocus. The mocus is the tax collector that handled imports and exports and trade goods. So think about this category like the stock market. The value can go up and down day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. And it was based on the mocus, the tax collector in this category, to determine that value and then charge you the tax. So now you see the way this can go, right? So Jay comes to me and he's got a bucket of turnips. And I say, well, today, a bucket of turnips are going for a quarter a turnip. And he says, but yesterday they were 15 cents. And I said, well, not today. Today they're a quarter. So for your bucket of turnips today, the tax is going to be $3, whereas yesterday it was only $1. And there's nothing Jay could do. He's got to pay the tax because I've determined that that's the value in it. So I've overtaxed him. Now what do I do with that extra $2?
Pocket it. Yeah.
So the Romans told the mocus, you are getting paid for the work that you do based on your understanding of the labor that you're doing. So the mocus paid themselves out of the tax based on Roman authority. So that's why they were so rich. That wasn't anything off, he wasn't skimming the Romans. He was skimming the people. He wasn't stealing the buck from the Romans. The Romans wanted a buck, he gave him a buck. He was taking it from the people. That's why Mom said, you're bleeding your own people dry to have your lifestyle. So Matthew's a very particular guy. Obviously, and we've said this before, it looks like he has, what is it? What syndrome is that?
Asperger's?
Yes, like Asperger's. He's obviously a little,
Oh, yeah.
little not quite right according to this story. So his sensibilities are different. He is not maniacal. He is not evil. He's not, giddily stealing from people. He's not looking at the person, like you can imagine a tax collector grew up with a bully down the street. Now he's the tax collector. And when that bully comes for tax, he's going to nail him every time because he's resentful and he's going to get back at him. And that's not Matthew. Matthew is set an amount of money as his own salary, and he is taking that amount of money consistently. You can bet on it because he's not a bad guy, just like the praetor said, you're amazing. You've got a completely unique mind, and it's not an evil mind. Remember, I love that line where he said last time, he said, Matthew said it, I don't think that's what happened when he was talking about the corruption or the manipulation of the fish. And he said, I don't think that's right. And he turned to him and he said, that's because you have no guile. I love hearing that word in a sentence, right? You have no guile. You're not suspicious. You're not thinking evil. You're not thinking bad. You're completely pure in your thought. I love it about you. You're cute. So Matthew's in this place where I love the scene, right? When he went to his mother's. Oh, and by the way, did you notice when he went and he called her Emo, his mom, but then he changed it again and called her by her name?
Yeah.
And he called his father because he's been disowned, officially disowned in front of the community. His parents have disowned him for what he's doing as a Mochus. So that's why he's calling his father by his first name, because it's not his father anymore, at least not according to them. So it'd be dishonorable to call them, to insult them by calling them mom or dad. Pretty horrible, huh? So he's going to the only person he thinks can help him, and that's his mom, and that's sweet. And asking her, what if everything I know is what I do? And she can't hear it because of the other things that are going on. So for all the reasons that you guys know, for all the reasons that we've talked about before, Matthew is so, I mean, his only friend is what?
The dog.
The dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's
And-
something about the guard that is changed.
Yes.
That we
Good.
won't see anymore, but he's definitely more happy and chipper, but he, like, even with his promotion, he shouldn't care. So that's interesting.
Well, I think two things are happening in this section. One, Matthew is rejecting everything that a Roman holds the most dear, bar none. You know, security, notoriety, money. That's it. That's it. And here Matthew's walking away. So he is just floored. But there's another aspect to him that I think, Will, you're picking up on, and that is, in a weird way, he's come to kind of like Matthew. You know, there's kind of a begrudging, sort of caring relationship where he protects him and cares for him. And I think if you know, I don't think they're going to develop this. I don't think they're going to do that. But if you think about this for him has got to be, like, in its own way, a confusing loyalty for him to actually appreciate and like this person who they're supposed to think of as, you know, next to a little bit higher than a dog, someone that could be killed for nothing. And yet he's got some kind of relationship with this young guy, and he doesn't want to see him make a mistake. He wants him to keep doing what he's doing, probably as much for himself as for Matthew.
I think he respects Matthew's talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, your mom should be proud of you because of your talent, what you have.
Yep.
He's gonna
I
miss the
found
kid.
it.
He's gonna miss the kid and not have him around to talk to.
Right. Right.
Very
I
well.
found it interesting, the continued theme of faith throughout the entire episode, of how Moses was so confident and Joshua completely wasn't. And to the point where he was dumbfounded that this was a real thing and trying to call it off as not God, as a pagan symbol. And then with Nicodemus, we know that he didn't have enough faith to continue down the better path, but I guess we could say his counterpart Matthew did.
Mhm.
He had faith enough to give up his stuff. And like Simon, whenever like events like this happen in the past episodes, has always gotten all worried and been confident in himself to be the one to do the thing or whatever. Whereas when Jesus instructs Andrew to meet Nicodemus, he is no, come back and just does as he is instructed. It's
Yeah.
very interesting, the way that was continued through the
Mhm.
episode.
Andrew was writing down what Jesus was saying, I believe, at that scene,
Yeah.
It
which
wasn't
we
Andrew,
assume
was
maybe
it?
he gave to his brother. Or
And I like that little nod to the gospel where he said, keep that tablet, you may find a use for it later.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Just a few observations. I know we have to go, but just a couple of things that I thought of while we were watching it was when Mary comes to him and says, I'm sorry for the problem I caused. One thing that's coming back to me over and over is that their conversation is normal. Right? She just comes, she's like, hey, can I talk to you, Rabbi? Just wanted to say I'm sorry. I had a problem. It's not even in the relationship that they have, where this is not a normal guy. They still don't have any other way to act. They don't have another way to respond to him. So they're responding naturally, and the natural way is normal, right? Like they're not throwing themselves down every time they see him and bowing and averting their eyes and all this stuff because he's all great and holy and wonderful. They're not doing that. They are talking to him and relating to him as a normal person, or extremely, godly and, oh my gosh, we don't even know what's going on kind of person, but that's okay. And Jesus is facilitating that. He's responding in kind, in the same way that Nicodemus went to his knees and he's saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? I like that because that's the normal thing for Nicodemus to do in that moment. And what Jesus is using is that moment of that normal response to teach him something new. But in the other moments, the normal thing is being normal.
Even letting him clean a fish.
Yeah. Okay, other one was the question was, I don't remember who said it. I have to give up who I am. And I think that's the question. That is the question for us tonight. That'll be our homework, I guess, for the next one. It was Nicodemus. It was Nicodemus who said, do I have to give up who I am? And Jesus, when he said, he said, come and follow me. And he's saying, where, how, wandering around? And he said, oh yeah, I know you're rich and you're a member of the Sanhedrin and you've got all this stuff. And he says, I don't even know how to do this. Do I have to give up who I am? And the question is, and the question he was asking when he was talking about the Spirit and being born again and coming to know the Son and putting all this together so that it makes sense. The question that he's asking without asking is, who are you? When Nicodemus said, do I have to give up who I am? That's based on a definition of who I am. I know myself to be ... And what Jesus is asking him is that really you? Is that really the definition of who you are? Or is that the definition that you have taken on, the person that you've become? And if that's true, then it's another decision is to take the risk to become or to change into the person that you really are, or to live this other definition that you have become accustomed to. And what does that entail? What does it mean? Remember the rich young ruler?
Yeah.
Right? Rich young ruler said, hey, this is who I am. I'm rich, but I've done all these great stuff. And Jesus said, okay, there's only one thing you're lacking. Give up everything and follow me. Same thing. And what did he do?
he walked away disappointed.
Walked away disappointed. He knew himself to be the rich young ruler, the prince. He did not know himself to be the person that he was getting in touch with, proclaiming himself. And Jesus was saying, no, this is this is the real person. The real person gives up what they have and follows me. That's who you really are. A hard thing to hear. So there's the question. So it doesn't have to be an absolute, but it's a good one to ask and a good one to answer. In relationship with Jesus, in relationship with God, in relationship with my faith life, with my spiritual life, really, who am I And am I the person that I know I should or need to be? It's a great question. Good homework. All right. I hope everybody had a wonderful time. I always do. Have a wonderful night. I'll see some of you tomorrow night, I hope. And if not, then I look forward to Sunday. Oh, Martha, I think I heard somebody talking about Martha when we came in. Jenny, so we have a event after the service for Martha.
I just put it in Creator Calling that we would be having a reception in her honor. It's nothing to, like Carol Lee said, she was going to handle it as part of our hospitality.
Okay, that's
I don't have anything formal planned other than a cake, I think. So I was going to double check with her tomorrow that that's underway.
We'll just have everybody gathering for her after the service.
Right. Yeah, I don't think Martha wants a big fanfare, literally, but it'll be nice to do it, to acknowledge it. It's not this Sunday, though. It'll be July 31st, right?
Yeah, that was the date you put in there, right?
Right.
Okay.
I hope.
Yeah, well, I'll take a look at that as soon as we're off and find out for sure.
I think it was 24th.
All right, guys, God bless you all. Have a really wonderful night.
All right.
Talk to you again soon.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, hon.
Bye, Mom.